Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to another episode of the podcast, Master Random the podcast. Before I get into the sponsorship, episode 200 is extremely close. This is episode 198. Super close. So the live show is coming up in the next 4 or 5 days, and we've been working super hard on creating a quality experience, and we truly believe that what we've developed is going to knock your boots off. So if you're joining us for that night for the live show, thank you so much. You are now our guinea pigs on how the future live shows are going to go if we decide to go with this. I say we because I put together a solid team in order to make this happen. You can't do things by yourself with just me. It has to be we. So I'm super appreciative of my team that has been put together, and we've been working hard on making this happen. And on Saturday, it's going down. Next thing I want to say before the sponsorship is, if you're listening to this in the Apple Podcast app, go ahead and leave a rating and review. It helps a lot in the Apple Podcast charts, and there's nothing more I can say. Oh, besides that, you can do it while you're listening to this right now. So if you just go there, you go to the main page and you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see the ratings and reviews, and do it while you're listening to the podcast. That'll be really badass of you if you do. So thank you. Now to the sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Addis Mortuary. They are a small family owned and operated mortuary that has been serving this local island community for over 45 years. They've been providing the top of the line funeral and cremation services during a time when it's absolutely needed the most. And another thing that they offer are pre-need plans. Those things are important if you're looking to take the burden off of your family in your untimely passing. What more can you make decisions about your death than through a pre-need plan? The type of funeral service with Addis, and the type of casket you want to be put in, the whole 9 yards. All the finer details are taken care of by you, laying the burden off of your family in the time of your death. For more information, contact Addis Mortuary for funeral services, cremation services, sea burial services, and pre-need plans at 477-1311, or visit the mortuary on South Route 4, Sinahanya, right before you get to Ordet, the bottom of the hill on your left-hand side. You can't miss it. Addis Mortuary. They are big enough to serve, yet small enough to care. My next guest on the show for episode 198 is former PXC Heavyweight Champion, current DEEP Megaton Champion, Roque Martinez. DEEP is a Japan-based MMA organization. He also fights for Reis, which is basically a sister company of DEEP, from what I learned in the podcast. And Roque, super solid guy, super determined, a lot of heart when it comes to overcoming injuries that he's gone through his fighting career, and pushing the limits on how far he can go. An extreme competitor, and I'm excited for you to listen to this podcast with him. So without further ado, my conversation with the current Megaton champion of DEEP, Roque Martinez. Check it out. Cool, we're good? We're good, and we're on. Roque Martinez, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. I've been watching you for a really long time, and to have you sitting here at the table, it's pretty cool. It's pretty awesome as far as, like, you were a part of the development of mixed martial arts here on Guam, right? Would you consider yourself sort of like a guinea pig, getting thrown in the fire at a young age when MMA and everything was still raw?
Yeah. I kind of see myself as that, maybe like you know, like maybe that second tier of fighters that kind of came out of Guam. And yeah, like you said, I kind of just got thrown in there. I won one fight, and then they threw me into a title fight against. At the time, everybody was like this scared of this guy, like from Saipan. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but yeah, man, I'm glad I was one of those first few to kind of.
Where did it start out for you?
Actually, so I graduated in high school in Washington State, and I got into MMA training right after that. And I had my first fight when I was 19, I believe. So I was fighting in Washington State first before I fought here.
Before you came here.
Yeah.
And you grew up out there completely, or it was more childhood?
For about 8 years. I moved there when I was 12, 98 or 99. I always forget, but I lived there until I moved back in 2007, beginning of 2007.
And you were already graduated from high school?
Yeah, I graduated high school. I was going to college out there for a little, and then I moved back here to just do a few semesters at UOG, and I'm still here.
So the intent was to move back eventually? Yeah.
Well, not necessarily. I wanted to go to school here for a little bit and then go back, but I never went back.
It just never panned out,
Yeah,
and fighting panned out for you instead. What was like the catalyst that kept you going? They said they threw you into the fire, and then you went into your first title fight. And what was the fire that? What was the catalyst that kept the fire burning? Is what I was trying to say.
Man, I guess it just comes down to I've always been a competitor all my life. I've competed in multiple sports throughout my scholastic career, and I just have that desire to compete. And man, once I figured out like I'm pretty decent at fighting, I was like, man, I kind of like doing this. You know what I mean? So it's something I had a passion for.
Was it more brawling first, or were you kind of into a mix, more into a martial art, not a mixed martial art, but more of a martial art first?
So the thing with me is I kind of did the martial art thing. I wrestled throughout school, and I got into boxing. I knew the technical aspect of it, but then my brawler side always came out. You know what I mean? So early on in my career, I was definitely a brawler, but I had the aspect of being a technical fighter, but I tended to lean on the brawling side.
Yeah, you can see it in like your last few fights, right? The sort of the memory of your brawler side, right? You can still get technical, but even in your last few fights, you were always sort of the smaller guy, yeah? Mm-hmm. It's sitting at the heavyweight division.
I'm always the shorter guy, man, and
shorter guy is more proper guy. It's just the more proper thing to say, yeah.
Yeah, so I just got used to it already. Like, I'm actually, I had is last year in August, I finally fought somebody who was about my height, and I was like, well, I kind of threw me off, you know. I was like, oh, all my punches are landing. Like, so yeah, that was pretty cool.
How does it change up your game, at least technically, right? I mentioned that sort of the brawler side of you has to sort of show in order to create that range, or for you to find your range, but has being in the heavyweight division, especially fighting in this new league, in two new leagues, right? DEEP and Ryzen are sort of like
they're separate,
different?
but they're kind of sister organizations.
Okay.
But yeah, man, for me, I think I was just able to adjust. Just because I've been fighting taller guys my whole career, now it's something I'm used to now. And, I kind of struggle in training, finding partners that have that height. But when I get into that fight, I feel like I automatically adjust to taller guys, you know?
Right.
So I think I'm just at that point where I know what I need to do.
Right. To get within the pocket without sort of putting yourself in too much danger.
Yeah, without taking too much damage.
Yeah, it's almost like a Mark Hunt kind of style,
he's a perfect
right?
example, because I believe we're the same height. But man, he's knocking guys out that are, pretty tall too. So.
Right, with no fucking fear too.
Yeah, that guy's cool, man. That guy's a warrior, man.
Is he? He's not fighting in the UFC anymore, right? He's out.
I believe he asked to be released from his contract.
Okay.
He got.
Is he fighting anywhere else?
Well, there's rumors that he's looking to pick where he's gonna sign with. But as of right now, no one really knows exactly where.
Yeah, I feel like one championship is like the destination for at least fighters in Asia now, right? They've grown to that organization that sort of almost levels with the UFC, would you say?
Yeah. Well, the thing with them, man, is they're a big company, and it doesn't seem like that to, I think, us over here, because we're more Americanized. But when you talk about like the crowd they bring in from the Asian side, like, I mean, think of like how big China is and all those countries. Those guys are bringing in big numbers, you know. And
For sure.
apparently, like, they say that they're getting more viewers than the UFC gets, you know.
Yeah.
It's just that it's not as obvious to us, I guess.
Right, because I think these days we base things off of social media likes and how many followers they have, right? And
Yeah.
it kind of misconstrues the statistics or even the data that we're receiving.
Yeah. I think people tend to judge it like that. But
people are whipping freaking Eddie Alvarez's ass over there, and maybe not Demetrius Johnson.
Yeah, but hey, he's his last 2 fights, he's struggled a little bit, you know.
Yeah,
like,
he did.
He's not like wiping these guys out like nothing, like he was doing over there in UFC.
Right. And from what I heard, it was like the weight cuts have a big thing to do with it, right? Because they don't do they do weight cuts, or is it?
Well, apparently they test your hydration levels throughout. I believe they make you test it throughout your fight camp and when you get to the event.
Yeah.
You can't cut a certain amount of weight when you go and check in with them, and they also check your hydration levels. So I know why they do that. It's because they had a fighter a few years back that died on a weight cut.
Really?
So I think that's what caused them to change that.
And it's something that a lot of UFC fighters like struggle with, right?
Oh yeah. And you see some of these guys, they're like, you don't want to see it affect their long-term health, you know what I mean?
For sure.
It's kind of cool that they do that.
Yeah. How about for Rising or Deep? Are the regulations or the strictness of weight cuts? I know you're in the heavyweight division, which is like a 205 plus, right? So
yeah, it's 205 to 265.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you still have to meet a certain range.
But I always come in under, so.
Right.
But yeah, Rising and Deep, they're pretty strict with their weight, their weight classes, and yeah, I mean, they kind of go by that same UFC standard of those certain weight classes as well.
Yeah. What was the reason? I know, the going away of PXC probably was a good reason why you started reaching out, but why those two in particular? Is that something that you had to reach out to them, or they came out to you?
Well, actually, what happened was back in 2009, I fought in Deep while I was still fighting in PXC. They had me and Justin Cruz, the Shocker, go over there, and
I think I remember that, man.
Yeah, so he was the bantamweight title holder, and I was the heavyweight title holder, and we went over there and challenged their title holders in the same weight class.
Oh, that's dope.
So that's how I got my foot into the Japan scene, and then I had another fight after that, which I lost both my first fights in Japan, but I had pretty good showings. And then the way I got back into Deep in 2017 was the owner of Deep came and watched me fight here came to watch me fight in 2016 when I fought a Japanese opponent.
And you just came back from a major injury, right? 2016?
2015 was my first fight back from a major injury.
Okay.
Yeah, I had multiple surgeries on my leg. Anyways, the owner of Deep saw me fight in that fight, and he kind of wanted me to get back to Japan. He kind of saw the improvement, I guess, and that's kind of how I got my title shot in 2017.
Oh, directly to the title?
Yeah, my first fight in Deep.
Oh shit!
My first fight back in Deep was a
Deep.
title fight. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I feel like it was unfortunate. It might have, maybe not unfortunate. It's like a blessing and a curse that PXC kind of went away, right? It was a curse because we don't have it here now. We don't have that sort of entertainment and be able to root on our favorite fighters here on home ground. But it was also a blessing because now it allowed a lot of the fighters within the organization to like branch out to different parts, to different leagues throughout the entire world, right?
Yeah, kind of. Like you said, it with having our fighters go off, and man, we're showing that we could compete at any level in international. The only thing that's sad for me to see with them leaving is we don't have these young guys able to test themselves. You know what I mean? And it's hard to have a guy who doesn't have any experience just get a fight off island right off the bat. You know, so it was good to have that event here, and they can build up and then go fight off island. But
right.
now I kind of see that's why MMA might be like going a little bit down here on Guam, is because the younger fighters don't have a venue to kind of show what they have, you know. Like I'm sure they
Maybe
could
like
do good.
Good.
Yeah, I'm sure they could do good in the, you know, in Japan or anywhere around the world, but it's hard to get a promoter to say, oh yeah, we'll pick this guy up from Guam, and they don't know how he fights or what's his record.
For sure, man. And I feel like all sports sort of run into that roadblock, to where the consistency of whether you're fighting or playing soccer, maybe soccer is the most consistent, because that shit's year round. They go to futsal, they go to big field soccer, right? And then they have nationals, and then some of the national players are playing in the MLS and also in the social clubs and stuff like that. But for like rugby and fighting, right? It's like you get a rugby game once every 4 months, and then you get a fight here on Guam. Well, before it'll be every couple months or every few months, but now it's like there's no fighting here at all, right? So there's nowhere to practice. I think maybe Still Athletics does the glorified,
they do the glorified sparring,
amateur fighting and stuff, which is cool, right?
That's a good outlet for the younger guys, you know.
Get a taste of what of being in those situations, in fighting situations.
Yeah, and definitely it's good for them. So
right. So I don't know. I feel like if an organization like PXC comes back, or even Fury, right, and to be able to provide that stage for a lot of the younger fighters to showcase their talents, then maybe. But then again, it'll be kind of, if you think about it, then if we have the organization here, then all the fighters wouldn't try to go off island to find fights now, because now it's all here.
Yeah, they wouldn't be forced to do it. But you know, I think if we can develop a homegrown league, like a PXC, or if they came back, I think it would help develop that younger group, you know,
right,
to come up and then head back out. Like, but you know, like when PXC was here, there was a lot of big events picking up PXE fighters. Like multiple UFC guys were from PXC. Yeah, you actually did pretty good too.
Yeah, you caught me. You took that thought right out of my brain. Yeah. What's his name? He's a number one contender right now for lightweight.
Volkanovski.
Volkanovski. Yeah. Right? He had one fight or a couple fights.
Yeah, he fought here, I think twice. But I know he won the title. He actually beat Yusuke Yachi for the title. Yeah, right. He fights in Ryzen now too. So
okay.
Yeah, you know, like these big leagues pulled a lot of guys from PXC.
Yeah, and that was the potential. And I thought, you know, when they were going to the Philippines and having sort of those big shows, I was like, wow, okay, now the expanse is happening. Yeah, which is pretty cool. Right? And then all it went away, and then ONE FC is just like, poof. Yeah, we're Asia, right?
Yeah, ONE FC is huge out there, man.
Yeah, is there any like goals to get into that organization at all?
Well, or are you I kind of leave my doors open, but I really like Reis MMA, what they do. They're big in Japan. Like I know ONE's trying to get into Japan. They had an event there not just a couple months ago, but they're trying to break into that Japanese market. But like Ryzen pretty much has the Japanese crowd for as far as MMA goes.
Yeah, the crowd you fought in front of versus Miracle Crow Cop. That was a huge crowd.
Yeah, it's over 27,000 people. Yeah. Actually, I was just looking back on my videos today, and I pulled up that video where I was standing, you know, on the ring check, and I just recorded around like all the seating, and I was like, God damn, those seats are fucking high.
High as shit.
So I was like, you know, it's pretty cool, man. They have a big following. So, and also too, the Ryzen's, they have one of the more popular kickboxers in Japan too. Tenshin Nasukawa.
Okay.
That's the guy who fought Floyd, so that's how he got pretty popular.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Man, he's got some drawing power, man. That guy's like a superstar in Japan, you know.
Okay.
So they're really riding on his back.
The Japanese Conor McGregor.
Yeah. I know he's trying to fight Conor. But man, he's a legit kickboxer though.
You know, how do Ryzen's rules differ from maybe PXC's? The regular octagon rules, right? Because now you're fighting in a ring, and things are a little, I'm sure, are a bit different, right?
Yeah. So on top of the ring and the cage difference, to me, the one thing I really like about Ryzen is I think they have the best rule set for MMA over any organization, because they allow soccer ball kicks to the head while a grounded opponent, knees to a grounded opponent's head. And
Sounds like Pride.
Yeah, it's like Pride, but now they're allowing elbows. Pride didn't allow elbows before. So Ryzen kind of has you can pretty much do it all. Elbows, knees to the head on the ground.
That's what busted you open against Miracle, right?
Yeah.
Why did they stop it in the first place? It was kind of weird, huh?
Yeah. It was man, I felt like I was fine. The blood wasn't going in my eyes, but apparently the doctor was said it was a pretty deep and big cut.
It was big enough to
stop. But at the same time too, I think there was a couple of reasons why I think they stopped it. Was that fight, there was also a typhoon passing through, and so they were kind of trying to get the main fights finished so that people can catch a train, because the train stopped running at 8 that day.
Okay.
So I think they were just, I mean, that could have played a little part. And
that's fucked up,
yeah,
man.
Because I mean, the fight before mine, Bob Sapp and I forgot the other guy's name, but he's a Egyptian guy. Man, I think they were bloodied up more than I was, but they let that fight go. But it's part of the game, man. Shouldn't have let him elbow me.
Yeah, but it's still, man. I feel like you still had fight. You were getting him, man. You had a lot of fight left in you.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I felt, man, he was wearing down. And
yeah, what was your initial feelings when it happened?
The stoppage?
Yeah.
Man, I was disappointed. You can see me in the video, I just yelled and
through your hand, kind of, yeah.
But yeah, man, just right before that cut, I always tell the story, like maybe 15 seconds before I got cut, I had him in my corner, and my cornermen were all down there, and I looked to one of them, and his name's Mike, but I call him Uncle Mike. I was like, because in training we always joke around with him, but it's like, Uncle Mike, I'm warming up, and he freaks out. He's like, what? Like, he's looking at me. I'm like, no, I'm warming up, like in the middle of a fighting crow cop. And I had him in the corner, and then literally like 10-15 seconds later is when he split me wide open, and I was like, just
right, with like an overhead elbow.
Yeah, but he landed perfect. Yeah, my hand was up, and he still landed it.
Yeah.
So, part of the game, man.
Yeah, man.
It's the game we play.
Yeah, it's I mean, like I bet it's got to be frustrating to be to fight, to prepare for someone of that caliber, right?
Mm-hmm.
For it to be stopped in that fashion.
Yeah. I always tell people that loss hurts the most, just because I tell people, man, I'd rather have been knocked out and like clearly he beat me, but that feeling I have,
pro cop kicks.
Yeah, the feeling I have inside is that I truly believe I was better, and I felt like I was gonna win. I felt like I was winning, first of all, but I felt like going into the later of the round, and like definitely I was gonna start making him fade, and it's just like you said, it sucks to lose that way. Having a doctor stop it out of all ways.
Yeah, well, it's almost worse than losing to decision.
Yeah. I mean, definitely like. But yeah, I want to lose convincingly or out on my shield,
Yeah, mentally, how do you handle losses? You've had what, 6?
Yeah,
six
I
losses?
just had my 6th loss.
Right.
But
how does it affect you? I guess moving forward, and as far as like how you plan to attack your career. Yeah,
I mean, I've been so set on not losing again since I had my last loss was in 2011. I said, man, I'm not going to lose anymore. People always say, oh, win or learn, right? But I had the mindset like, man, in 2011, since my last loss, I fought enough to feel like I've learned enough to not lose again, And I just had that mindset. And then, of course, the Crow Cop loss happened, and I just got a new perspective that, man, these losses they'll make you better. And I still feel that way. I feel since the Crow Cop loss, I got better. Came back and won the fight after that, and then of course this last one that happened, I lost again.
Jack win, right?
Jake win.
Jake win.
Yeah.
Right, you went to battle there too.
Yeah, that one too was a battle.
Is that when you broke your hand?
Yeah, I broke my hand on that one.
When did how far into the fight did it happen? Wait, okay, I got it. Before we get into that,
yeah,
why was it 3 rounds, 5 minutes, 3 5-minute rounds, and the Miracle fight was 10-minute rounds?
So they just kind of have like a way of that one 10-minute round, or sorry, that one 10-minute, Yeah, 1 10-minute round, and the second round is 5 minutes. Kind of like that old Pride style, you know.
Okay.
That one I was actually hoping they went with that one with Crow Cop, just because I felt like the 10 minutes I could take to try and take him to wear him down.
Yeah.
The one with Jake, he I guess it was just agreed that we're gonna do the 3 5 minutes. So for me, I don't care whatever the layout is.
Okay.
To me, a fight's a fight, and you should just be in the best condition you are. You know,
Right.
You should worry about how long each round is. You know. But,
Yeah.
It's just, I guess it's just random how which fight. I guess it could also too be what the both fighters agree on as well.
Part of the contract agreement. Yeah. Where was I going with this? Oh, when did the injury happen? When did you break your hand?
Man, it was just literally like 15 seconds in or so.
What?
When I watched
And you went 3 rounds?
Yeah. But
And you're still giving him power. You know, you're still like giving it to him.
Yeah, man. I felt like I still had enough to finish him, you know, and I felt like I won the fight at the end. Especially once that first judge, he said I won, you know, but I lost split decision.
Right.
Thought I did enough. But that's what I always say, man.
Yeah, you even ended the fight on top.
Yeah, ended the fight on top. So you can't leave it to the judges, man.
Right, right. Was he from Japan? Is it a home field advantage?
He's from the U.S., but I believe he lives in Australia now, maybe.
Okay.
But yeah, he's, you know, respect to him, man. He beat me. He was the better guy that night.
Right. When you had your major injury, how did that affect you then? Right. That was back in 2013, I believe.
2013 was when I had my first major leg injury. So the real trying part about that injury was I got injured playing football. I came back and I got it healed. I had surgery for that, right? And then I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get back to fighting, and slowly I started building myself up. I got back into like getting ready for a fight. So I was ready to take a fight, and I just so happened to get it my leg rechecked again just to make sure, you know. And man, sure enough, I found out. I remember the guy who took the X-ray, and then the doctor who came back. He's like, yeah, he's like, can you come in? And or like right off the bat, I knew. I was like, oh, something's up, you know. Like usually they'll just be like, okay, yeah, everything looks good.
All right.
He's like, yeah, your pins in your leg broke and your ankle's all out of whack. And I was like, you know, you got to be kidding me. I thought I was perfectly fine. So the part that made that harder is I had to do another surgery, and it was actually a complete reconstructive surgery on the left leg and ankle. So
you're bionic now, huh?
Yeah, I got a titanium plate and 7 screws in there right now.
My goodness.
Yeah. So I mean, that's really what made it hard, is I got over that one injury and then had to go right back into another one, you know.
Right.
And it was hard, man. To be honest, I fell into like a depression. Like even after the first one, I had that small thing of depression because I had just gotten back into fighting in 2013 because I had injuries before that I took off time. Like nothing major, but it took time to heal up.
Right.
Got back into fighting 2013, and I ended up playing a freaking football game that I got convinced to play, and that's how that leg broke again. And it was like back to back, like just these hardships, you know.
Yeah. When did you tell yourself like you had to drop everything else and sort of focus on the fight if this is what your career was meant to become?
It was right after that first surgery on the leg. I was like, man, you know, I can't be doing these extra curricular things. Yeah, man, it's just, you know, I look back though, I appreciate everything I went through.
For sure.
Because now I feel like I'm mentally like you can't break me anymore. Like there's nothing you can do. Especially because I just, you know, every surgery.
I mean, shit, you got titanium in your body now. I don't think you can break titanium.
Yeah, man. And I always tell people, like, after my second surgery on my leg, man, after the nerve block wore off, 2 days after the surgery, one night in the middle of the night, I woke up and my leg was just like, felt like a truck or a sledgehammer just like went to it, you know. And I'm not big on painkillers. I won't take it. And man, I woke up, I was like, Mom, I need those painkillers, you know. But I always tell people, man, that's nothing compared to the mental not mental injury, but that you go through like this mental phase, like I said, like it was a depression, like, man, am I ever going to be able to fight again? And
For sure.
stuff like that.
All the questions start coming up.
Yeah. So, man, to me, but I look back and I'm glad I went through everything like that.
Yeah, for sure. Who are the people who sort of help convince you that you still have a fight in you?
It's just everyone I trained with, you know, and also I think for the most part it was myself. Like I felt, like I said, that competitive nature in me, and I could see I was still doing good after the injury. So, I didn't want to give it up just yet.
Yeah. Moving back more,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the Roque Martinez, Kelvin Fitiao trilogy,
Mm-hmm.
or the rivalry was one of the biggest, most remembered, I think, rivalries in all of PXC history.
Yeah.
You know, like thinking about it now, you know, what are your initial thoughts now that I ask you this on the whole thing, on how it started
Mm-hmm.
and how it evolved, and even how it evolved maybe your relationship with him today?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, with Kelvin, I know, as I was fighting PXC, I knew he always wanted to fight me. So, then when he finally fought me, our first fight, we had a draw.
Right.
So
Controversial draw, right?
It was a 5-rounder, and man, it ended in a draw.
I might have been there. I might have been freaking out too.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Draw?
So, you know, like when I look back and the way I felt like I won. But of course, like going into the judges, I always know like it could go either way.
For sure.
So I had that draw, and then of course, you know, I had the people who were like saying, "Oh yeah, I lost," you know, or they thought I lost, and but you know, I didn't know what to think. I had no control over the judges' say. I was disappointed I didn't win. Even at a draw, I wasn't happy.
But definitely your mentality about the fight wasn't where it is today, right?
Oh yeah.
Like looking back on maybe like a loss and stuff, your last loss, and when you were back then when you got that draw, I'm sure the thought process was different. Yeah.
Yeah, it was different for sure. But yeah, I think I think there was a little bit of like of that rivalry going on before that fight, but not so much. But I know after that it picked up a lot more, and then we agreed to another fight just a few months later, maybe 4 months later or so. That one was in the PI, and that one he ended up beating me in the 4th round. Like the doctor stopped it. I didn't want him to stop it, but apparently he didn't think I was defending myself enough, and of course the blood made it look worse than it was, and disappointed about that. And you know, after that fight, he was being pretty cool. And then I believe the trilogy fight, which was where the rivalry and all that was at an all-time high.
Right.
I thought he was gonna be cool, and then at the press conference, like at the stare down, he just like kind of flipped the switch. I don't know, maybe, you know, it could be that could be his way of mentally trying to get to me and get me worked up. And, you know, it did. Like, got worked up, especially at the weigh-ins. They had to separate us.
Right. I remember that.
And then, yeah, we almost fought at the weigh-ins, and then when people saw that videos, when it really like everyone started tagging me, like, oh, then it was back to that Guam and Saipan thing. So and it just kept like building up just from that weigh-in video.
Right.
And then of course, come fight night, it just, you can feel that tension in UOG in the field house, and especially right off the bat when the fight started, I could just tell it, like, you know, he was coming out. Yeah.
Coming out with cannons.
Yeah, with cannons. And I knew like there's no way you can keep that up for 3 rounds, you know. And sure enough, I just let him. He faded, and you know, it definitely built up to a big rivalry. And then, but actually now we're pretty cool, man. We actually trained together back in a little bit before my last fight. Came out to Guam for a little bit, and we trained a few times, and we're trying to train together again once I'm fully healed up.
Yeah, I would imagine that his height and his stature sort of will help with the training style or if any style that people that you challenge out in Rise. Why can't I get any of my words out today? My goodness.
Yeah, no, man, dude, he'd be definitely a good partner for me to have, you know. And like I said, we kind of have this thing that you know, if we help each other out, we can be like a pretty big force to be reckoned with out of the Marianas. Like me and him, we could represent all around, you know, whatever promotion organization. Like I think we, you know, and he's a tough guy too. So I see no bad coming from us training together. Like it's definitely just will both benefit.
For sure. Yeah, and I feel like you see that a lot with a lot of the fighters who did have rivalries back in the PXC and Fury days, right? They're all supporting each other. Like, all right, you got to fight, shoot. Yeah. Let's do this.
So the thing with fighting, man, is like you go into a fight like, yeah, I'm gonna take this guy's head off, this and that, but at the end of the day, when you share that cage or ring with somebody and you guys like just put, and this, I mean, essentially it's your lives you're putting on the line, right? So I think there's just something about that moment when you guys are fighting each other. You just kind of, I don't know, it's just like that bond, you know, like you both like just try to kill each other, but at the end, like you can be really appreciate the other person for doing that. And for Calvin, he brought the best out of me, competition wise. So I think that's why I respect him a lot, you know.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, man. Oh. And it's nice to see. It's actually really nice to see the that camaraderie.
Yeah.
Right. That like I keep saying, blessing and curse.
Yeah.
Right. It's like you wouldn't if the organization was still, if a fighting organization was still around, you maybe wouldn't see these fighters training together. Right.
Yeah.
That'd still
we'd probably still go
gym versus
other,
gym versus gym versus gym. Right. Versus backyard.
Yeah. And now, man, dude, when we get all the Guam guys together to train, man, we got a lot of talent here. Really.
Dude, there's a shitload of talent.
Yeah.
And just the fact that everyone's fighting pretty much all over the world, right?
Yeah, pretty much, man. So it's good to see.
There's a good export of talent is what I like to say.
Yeah.
Right? And it's something that we can maybe capitalize on, right? And in multiple ways.
Yeah.
Right? And so, I mean, how have you seen from your early days in training to now, how have you seen the culture shift? You know, has there been a shift at all in your eyes?
As far as culture shift, like you mean in regards to like how serious people are taking the sport?
Yeah. I mean, before it used to be you just go out there and it's raw, right?
Yeah.
Fucking go out there and brawl it out.
Yeah.
Like barely any technique. Right?
Now you can see it across the board. A lot of the younger guys are they're taking it serious, man. It's like when you say culture, I like there's that culture of the fighters, and they kind of know what's right and what's wrong to do in terms of preparing for a fight, right? Like there's definitely more structure. There's more structure going on, and
there's a lot more knowledge that's come from outside and brought here.
And then everybody, you can see now everyone's working on their strength and conditioning programs, to working on their striking techniques, to ground. You know, it's just, so it's definitely way different than it was before. You know, people are taking it serious now.
Yeah, for sure. What is your regimen in the off season, not preparing for camp?
Man,
how do you stay healthy?
I tell everybody I don't have an off season. Like I pretty much kept the same training schedule now for couple years, man. Like more than a couple years. It's the same schedule for me, man. I wake up every day about 4:00, wake up, train, get my strength and conditioning in. Then now I train again at around lunchtime, work on my more of my fight training type stuff, and then depending on how my body feels, I'll get one more in after work. It could be just anything from a light jog to hitting the bag. But man, I kept the same schedule for, like I said, over 2 years now. I don't have an off season really.
What was the hardest part of getting that regimen like set in stone? Was it waking up, or was it actually convincing yourself to do a 3 a day or a 2 a day?
I would say it definitely started first with the waking up. Like, it's hard to wake up at 4:00. Even till this day. It's a struggle every day to wake up at 4, you know. But that's just where that the mentality comes in. Like how bad do you really want it, right? Like,
right.
I always look back, like, I think I'm in a fairly good spot as far as my fighting career goes, but I always look back every time I reach like a real high, right? Like, for example, when I took that Crow Cop fight, or when I got that fight, I looked back and right away, straight to my head, I thought, that's every day waking up at 4 a.m. That's not just what I've done in the last couple months to get the Crow Cop fight. That's years of waking up at 4 in the morning. Like that's the sacrifice, you know? So man, it's so important to me. Like I just emphasize it so much. And the whole waking up at 4 thing is like, that's your first battle of the day. And if you wake up at 4 and you get up and you go train, you started off your day, you want a battle. And like for me, like I have that thing, like I try to tell myself every day, it's win the day, you know?
Yeah.
So if you start off every day and you conquer that
The snooze
resistance to, exactly. Well, I'll snooze it a few times, but after like
conquer that.
Yeah.
5 minutes. Please play for 5 minutes.
Yeah. Man, I have a hard time with that still, man, till this day. But it just I get this you know, this thing of just winning, starting the day off winning, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. You mentioned the your first battle of the day is waking up, and I feel like you hear that ring across a lot of different things, you know, military people and stuff like that, or even I've heard like making your bed, right? Is that's your first task, right? If you can't even complete your first task in making your bed, it makes you think you're gonna finish the rest of the tasks, you know, of the day, right? It's gonna encourage you to be even lazier, to not want to do stuff like, well, I skipped that, so I might as well just skip this too.
So man, I like how you say you see it kind of across the board with other people. I get that 100% because I actually I listen to a lot of these guys, man, like successful guys. One I really like is like David Goggins, of course, Eric Thomas, Jocko Willink. You know, like these guys that can. And when the one thing I notice when you just look at all these successful guys is they all. I mean, they have different opinions, but at the same time, like it's almost all the same.
Right.
It's that, like I said, just starting off the day, it's already a hard start. But if you, like, I feel like sometimes that hardship is what builds character. You know, like I mean, they say it a lot too, but I think I actually live by it. You know, instead of just talking about it, like people will see me every day waking up at 4. You know.
Yeah.
And I'm just so. I truly believe in every you know, that aspect.
For sure. With everything comes a balance, right? And to do that every day, I'm sure it can become monotonous. It's almost like when Greg Monk mentioned on the podcast, eating chicken breasts and potatoes every day for 6 months was, you know, I had to do it. I did it. Yeah. But I hated it also. You know, so I also had to find some sort of thing to balance it. So what is your balance of you know, putting yourself through a regimen like that, even when you're not getting ready for a fight?
Yeah.
What keeps you maintaining your balance?
I think for me, like honestly, like I look back, I give myself those for me, like a perfect example is like I have a really hard week of training, this and that. I'll go home and on maybe like a Friday and I'll reward myself. I'll have like a couple beers to relax and I get a good night's sleep and you know, eat good, and I wake up that next day, Saturday, feel a lot better. And I think for me, that's kind of like, that's my trick to it. You know what I mean? Like I reward myself a little bit. Yeah. And I think you know, we're talking about the whole fight camp thing. When I don't have a specific fight to train for, I drink a little bit more than a couple of beers, right? But,
right.
But well, you know, even when I'm in fight camp, man, I tell people I still have a couple beers here and there,
right?
And just relax and kind of eases that mind, and then get back into it again. You know, starting that. I train through the weekends too, so Saturday wake up feeling good and redo it again.
Yeah, how much does a regimen change when the fight camp comes along?
Not too much, really. I would say the only difference is I pay a little more attention to how beat down my body is, probably. When it's fight
especially
camp,
at this age, right? You just gotta like listen to your body.
Yeah. So if I go through and like on a Friday, like I'm literally having a hard time, like towards the daytime, like I'm having a hard time like getting out of my truck, or if I'm like trying to pull myself in my truck and I start cramping and I'm hurting, like I'll listen to that a little bit and I'll say, okay, maybe tonight I'll take off a little bit, relax, recover, and come back stronger on the following day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or at least do an active recovery day on the Saturday.
Like a swim.
Yeah, like a swim, or even just like a light trot on the treadmill, or get the sweat going and get a good stretch, you know?
Right.
But I don't believe in taking days off at all. Like, no days off. Like, you have to, it's hard to say, but it's like, no days off, but you can kind of do something that'll get you going, you know? Like Jocko Willink, like, he says, like, people always think of this thing as overtraining, but, if you can get up that next day and say, oh, I'm just going to go to the gym and just do a light jog, right? Like, you're not going to kill it, but if you can just get up and do that, and even if you're going through the motions, you got up and you did it, you know what I mean? Right. And then after that, you'll think to yourself, oh man, I almost took today off, but man, I actually feel better. I took a light trot on the treadmill and I actually feel pretty good, like not so beat up anymore, you know? So
yeah, when I was running a lot before, I would start my running. I'll do my run after work, but you know, I'm so tired after work. I just want to come home and relax. So the first thing I would do, and my friend taught me this trick. He was, no, just dress up in your running clothes.
Oh yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and in your head, you're like, fuck, I'm already dressed up. I might as well go. And even if you're tired, you can take a 20-minute nap, and then you'll wake up and you're in your running clothes already. So there's you've already taken away that extra step to convince yourself that, fuck, maybe I should do this today.
Yeah, and man, whatever you gotta do, like. Not all things work the same for everybody. I think that's another thing too, you know. Yeah. And I think I just found what works for me.
Yeah. And and what is that?
It's just like everything I just talked about, like my schedule wise. For some reason, the way I go about everything, it's worked out for the last few years. Like in terms of my performance and how my fight camp goes and stuff like that.
Right.
Just that schedule I'm running now, it just really works well for me.
Yeah, does it help with your stamina in the ring, as far as like surviving 25 minutes of fighting, or even 15 minutes of fighting?
Oh yeah, definitely, man. Like just I kind of go by I feel like the harder I put myself through training camp, the easier the fight is, you know.
Yeah. And
of course, I always tone it down a little bit before the fight, like about a week out. I kind of just tone it down, but just to let the small bumps and bruises heal up. But other than that, man, I'm pushing myself all the way through. Like I truly believe like those hardships like prepare you for the worst.
Yeah, I mean, are you afraid of getting like knocked out during training camp if you're going so hard, or even overexerting yourself to the point where, I mean, look at Anthony Joshua.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I heard, well, not heard. You know, you see on social media and stuff like that, you know, he got knocked out prior to his fight with Ruiz. Was it Ruiz?
Oh no, I actually I didn't hear that.
Yeah, man.
And
which is why he was like not himself, right? He wasn't the boxer. He wasn't the phenom that everyone was claiming to be. And so, here comes the Snickers guy.
Was that did somebody like in his camp leak that out? Or?
No, it might have been on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Or I mean, they could have leaked it out to try and get that small little.
Right.
This is why you beat me. You know what I mean? But as far as like in the aspect of like the hitting and sparring and stuff, yeah, maybe that one you don't need to push too hard, like, and try and knock your training partner out and vice versa, right? But like all the other stuff, man, you could work hard on everything else, you know. Like maybe you don't need to take too many hits to the head, but you could work.
But you have
like
to try
constant drilling.
You're constantly wanting to make it as real as possible.
Yeah, that too. So you gotta find that balance, you know. And I think you can do it without having your partner trying to knock your head off.
Right.
But you know, it's just finding the balance on what works for you.
For sure.
Yeah.
What do you think is a key to longevity in this sport? You're 32, 33 right now?
Yeah.
Right? And so, I mean, the fight career for any fighter, you know, I mean, it's you're technically over the hill, yes?
Well, actually, there's
maybe at the prime. Yeah, you're your prime. Yeah. Let's say, sorry. I don't need to say that.
No. Well, you know what's
oh
funny?
My goodness, why did I say Look at man's laughing. He's like, dude, you just told the champ.
No.
That he's over the hill.
The funny thing with that though, right, is you look.
Fuck, my bad. That's not how I meant it at all.
No, but generally speaking though, like you look at like elite athletes, like that's definitely past their, I mean, you are getting past the prime.
For sure.
And I also think for a lot of fighters, it is actually like once you're getting over 30 into the mid 30s, you're kind of hitting that, but for some reason, like when you see MMA, like heavyweights are, I don't know what it is, but a lot of these heavyweights are like, they're peaking like later in their 30s, like 35, 37. Yeah, look at Daniel Cormier. I don't know if he's 40 yet, or he's going on 40.
I believe he's 40 already. Yeah,
him. You're seeing a resurgence in a lot of these old school heavyweight guys. Yeah, it's just something weird about it. I don't know.
Yeah, you have a point, because even Randy Couture, he was a 50-year-old champion. Yeah,
he was. And I don't know what it is, but you don't see. I don't think he really kind of, as far as the lighter guys go. I'm not sure if that happens as often, but it was something that was brought to my attention because actually I was doing an interview and they were, how do you feel like you're not in your prime yet, but you're getting there? And then, I kind of thought about it a little bit. I was like, man, you're right. Like a lot of these heavyweights, they're like I said, DC's a perfect example. And the guy's competed all his life. So, I mean, you can't really say it's because he's now getting into MMA and his body's not beat up. The guy's been wrestling since he was a kid.
Right. Hey, Matt, can you grab a napkin real quick, dude? Sorry, man. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Fuck my bad. I totally barfed that one out of my mouth. Yeah, because I believe so too. I mean, look at for any athlete, right? It's I mean, LeBron James is definitely in his prime. I mean, that's basketball too, right?
Yeah.
And you mentioned a lot of heavyweight fighters, Alistair Overeem, right? Yeah. I mean, even though he's gotten like knocked out in his last fight, but
yeah, he's
still game.
Still a legit,
right?
What's that?
He's a
contender.
Top 10 fighter easily.
And he's got to be like, I want to say close to 42.
Yeah.
And he was doing better in the last few years than he has early on in his career.
For sure.
When he was probably like physically in his prime,
Yeah.
So I don't know how that one's working.
Are you so yeah, I mean, I'm asking the key to, what do you think is your key to longevity? Is it because the brawling style has definitely got to sort of fade out a little bit, right? And sort of pick your shots and take your time and maybe even hit the ground and utilize your wrestling expertise. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you, like you said, and that's something I've tried to do more lately is definitely take a lot less damage. The last fight didn't do too good on that. Like, I got a cut above my eye, of course, my hand, but yeah, you just gotta, as you get later into career, I think, you need to start building up which comes with experience, right? Like now I'm more experienced. I kind of have a better idea of what to do to take less damage and all that and not get sucked into those brawls. But then again, and sometimes at the end of the day, I do get sucked into it. You
get hit and you start seeing red maybe. Yeah.
I think that, to me, that's just, I think it just comes down to what's like, that's in my blood, it's something I don't know. I can't explain it, but yeah.
I think it's definitely something you have to be conscious of, especially like during the fight, right? And maybe you're in a tough situation and you want to brawl it out, right? And it's like,
so like this good example of that is this last fight. My last few fights, I've just been going into my fights with the mentality that I was just gonna keep it standing and just knock all my opponents out and put on a good stand-up show, even technically, but I was looking at this last fight and I was thinking, man, I went into the fight with that mentality, like I was just so focused on doing that when I broke my hand, I was like, okay, I'm still gonna stand up and brawl, but I think I easily could have taken the guy down in the first round. In the third round, I took him down easy.
Right.
And after the fight was over, I kind of looked back and I'm like, damn, I should have taken him down right when I broke my hand. Like, it would have been so much. I definitely felt like I was better than him on the ground. And even one of my cornermen, he's like, yeah, you should have taken him down and beat him on the ground and, finish the fight, even submit him and, just, hey, I mean, not that I need to explain to myself, but or explain myself. But you know, well, just to backtrack a little on that, both of me and my opponent kind of like had this thing that we agreed we're gonna keep it standing.
Okay.
And he even said in one of his pre-fight interviews that whoever goes for the first takedown should not be able to come back to Rise in the fight again. So
really,
yeah. So
oh my goodness.
Like, I was like, okay,
oh shit, that set the stage already.
Yeah. So after I saw that on his interview, I was kind of like, oh, okay, you know what, you're gonna regret saying that, right? Like, so like right away, like I had that mindset, and then after the fight, I looked back and I was like, oh, shit, what, you know, my corner man was right. He's like, he told me, he's like, why didn't you just take him down, pound him out, submit him or whatever, and then just say, hey, you know, I went for the takedown because I broke my hand. That's why I took it down. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he may have subtly drew you into his game.
Yeah, he did.
Right?
So, man, my ego took over, man. But, you know, like, and that's something I learned from.
Yeah.
Lesson learned.
For sure, man. I mean, at some point, right, you got to decide. And I had this same conversation with Frank, was you got to decide whether you're fighting for the fans to put on the show or fighting for the longevity of your career.
Yeah.
And sacrifice the big hits and the highlight reels to be able to keep yourself fighting for till you're 40 or 45 or 50, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Those are things that you got to think of, man. And like I said, man, lesson learned on the last one.
Yeah. Do you have any like fights coming up?
I'm trying to get one soon. I actually just had a doctor's appointment today for follow up on my hand.
What happened exactly? Where did you where did you
behind
break?
the index knuckle? I broke it right here, and the knuckle kind of got pushed back. So they had to pull it out, straighten it, and put some pins in it. This is the scar where the pins were.
Yeah, I saw a photo you just posted. It was like, it looked like a
there was
little
two pins.
swing on your.
Yeah. Well, so actually those were
swivel.
two separate pins.
Okay.
The one that came here went all the way down to just about my wrist, and then this one came at an angle just for extra support.
Yeah, the swelling is still there too, yeah?
Yeah, it's still swollen, but my mobility's coming back. So
Rehab at all?
Yeah, I've been doing rehab over at Custom, and so basically my doctor cleared me to go ahead and start getting back into like my grappling. As far as the punching, he said maybe just wait till I can, once I'm able to close my fist all the way, then I can start slowly punching maybe the you know, mitts or heavy bag, which right, he said it could be in about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And
but have you been punching stuff? Or
No,
like the stubbornness of the fighter like come into play, right? It's like, coach, let me play. I don't have a concussion. Just
No, that's what I was actually pretty smart about it. I still did my boxing and all that, but I was just using only my left hand.
Okay.
So I've actually built up my left pretty well, my jab and stuff. So now I'm just looking to now that I kind of have a better idea of when I'll be ready, man. I think
you enjoying this episode so far with Roque? Go ahead and rate and review the podcast if you're listening to this on the Apple Podcast app. You can do it while you're listening to it. So feel free. Ratings and reviews always help. Back to the episode.
Yeah, I'm ready to pretty much take any fight like now I can get, you know.
You think that'll be healed within the next couple months or few months?
No, I like you said, and maybe in about 2 weeks I can start punching with it and just kind of building back that, you know, that.
Dude, I got a cut on my hand, dude, and I was just like, I can't go train with this. Too many Band-Aids.
Oh man, yeah, no man, I'm one of those guys that it's hard to keep away, like, it's hard to keep me away from training, man. Like, you know, after I broke my hand, I flew back on Monday. After I flew in, I just kind of relaxed, slept. Then Tuesday, I stayed home all day, and I just, I went to my doctor's appointment. But I did that, and then I just came home and slept and watched TV all day. And then by Wednesday, I was already like, oh, fuck, I can't do this. Like, I was like, what's that, cabin fever, right?
Right.
So I was like, oh, fuck, I got to get up. And sure enough, I went outside, put on my sweater, and like I was hitting the bag with one hand, just nonstop. Like just kept hitting, you know. And since then, I think the most days I've taken off was one consecutive day. Even after my surgery, I had my surgery on a Friday. Before my surgery, I got my training session.
Yeah, I even saw you had a couple interviews and you had like a cast on.
Yeah.
Like, Yep. Just training with one hand.
Yeah. And I'm one of those guys you just can't keep me away. And it goes back to like, it's just, that's all what I think will pay off. Like when it comes to me getting to that next level is like, I'm gonna say it's just cause I never quit, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even when it got tough.
And that's what I, you know, when it came to my first injury second injury where I had that whole depression thing, right? Like,
yeah.
And I went through that. This surgery on my hand, it honestly feels like nothing. It was still a little bit of a struggle. Like, yeah, it sucks. Like I'm injured. I can't fight anymore or for a little bit, but I felt like I just cruised through this injury, like almost as if I didn't have an injury because I was still doing my strength and conditioning. Still doing a lot of like, my high interval, training on the treadmill, a lot of sprinting. Man, honestly, like I feel like I could if my hand was working like 100%, I feel like I could take a fight next week, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like I just cruised through this injury just because of my previous experiences.
Yeah. And it seems your mental state is much stronger than it was back then.
Yeah. I think that's the one, like for definitely the one I've built up the most is my mental strength. Man.
Do you think it's callous, or do you think it's like you've become numb to sort of that part of the mental, that part of the injury, or because you've been through it so many times, or do you think that you've been able to build like muscle around your, metaphorical muscle around your brain and your mind to be able to carry yourself through this properly?
Yeah, no, I think it's just building that callus, and like I said, man, like there's nothing you can do to break me anymore. Like I've felt like been through all the, you know, I'm not saying like I'm done with the hard times, but I've been through so many that like you can't stop me, you know what I mean? Like freaking broken hand's nothing to me right now.
Right.
Like, and that's how I feel. I went through this last few weeks is like it was nothing. Like this was a piece of cake, you know?
Yeah. How long has it been since your fight? It was May was your
June
fight?
2nd.
June was your fight.
Yeah. So I had surgery maybe 10 days after I broke it. So this going into this Friday will be my 8th week from the surgery.
Are you sure your name's not Wolverine? What's going on here, dude? That's quick.
Yeah. So this 8 weeks since my surgery.
Yeah.
And actually last week I was already back to bench pressing 6 weeks after my surgery.
So you're not worried? I mean pressure, right? And you're putting immense amount of pressure. I mean bench press. Mm-hmm. There was no worried about misplacement or displacement of the bones or anything?
There kind of is, but I almost feel like since this is my 4th surgery that I've gone through, I kind of feel like I know that little bit of that. I know that boundary, right? And I can put myself right there and say, okay, this is good. And then there are times like I went to the gym and I did something and I was like, okay, maybe not that one. But I'm smart about it as well. Like,
yeah, definitely. You can.
I have that crazy
maturity in you. Yeah.
I have that craziness to like keep training, but I also have the knowledge and everything to stay away from the stuff that wouldn't have been good for the injury.
For sure. Do you meditate at all?
Meditate? No, I don't say I would. I wouldn't call it meditating, but there are times where I'll sit like. Oftentimes it's after training, or it could even be after hitting the bag in my garage, and I'll just sit there and I just go through a lot of. I think of a lot of things, right? Like, and it could just be anything, and I'd say maybe that could be considered meditating. You know, like I'll just think through a lot of things and kind of remind myself of what's going on, what I've been through, what I still have to do. You know,
right.
I guess it's some form of meditating.
Right. See, I told you this guy's gonna be going off. He's fine though. He'll live. Going into a fight, what is your thought? I'm very curious in your mind. You know what I mean, as far as like what helps. I mean, we can push our body to go to extreme lengths, but our minds are the most fragile things when it comes to pushing your body, right? And we tend to forget to take care of it. And so, at least going into a fight, what is your mindset going into it? Are you trying to hype yourself up? Are you trying to keep yourself as calm as possible? What sort of goes through your mental state as you come to the minutes to when you have to like go out into the ring?
Yeah, so for me, it starts backstage, right? You got to keep all your emotions like under control. For me, it's hard to not think about the fight, but at the same time, like you gotta kind of be smart and not, because essentially you're wasting energy when you start building up that hype, right? So like when I'm in the back waiting for my fight, like I just try and keep calm and
music.
I listen to a lot of music.
Okay. Particular genres at all?
No particular genre, but minutes before I walk out, I like to listen to like cha-cha music, like island music.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so it kind of just gets.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah, like one of my cornermen too got me on the video. Like I had my headphones on and I was just cha-ching there in the back, you know. And then even the Rising crew came with their cameras, like, oh shit, check this out, right? Like, but it's something that just kind of relaxes me, kind of reminds me of home. Like,
well, yeah, you do come out pretty like happy. It seems like big smile on your face and excited to, as you're coming down. It seems there's a lot of excitement. Yeah.
So for me, I used to come out to my fights like God, with that, like just ready to kill somebody, right? And then now I realize like, man, I'm about to do what I love to do, and like you said, it makes me happy.
Yeah. And
I think it shows when I'm making that entrance walk. It's just something I love, man. And by the time I get like I'm in the back walking down, and it's funny because like I'll be in the back and I can see my cornermen, like, they're like, everyone's like tense, and they say it a lot, they're probably more nervous than me. But and I always say the last few fights I'll like say something to like in the back to like kind of break that intensity, because like you could just see it, you can feel it. And I think for my last fight, like everyone looked so intense, and I was like, man, you guys getting bored of this yet or what? Like, and everyone just like looks like, oh, like yeah, like it kind of broke it.
Right.
The one that was funny too was when I fought Crow Cop. We were in the back like right before I was gonna walk out, and one of my cornermen, Mike again, he was he was nervous, man. Like I could see it, and then Melker was with me too, and my other cornerman Tone, and I was just like just something to like break that the intensity again. I was just like, hey, come on, make sure you don't fall down the ramp when we're walking, right? And everyone just starts cracking up, and like it just right away you can tell like it eased them up a little bit, and everyone's joking around, and Melker's like, hey, if you fall down that ramp, you just might as well just walk back, walk back to the locker room, don't walk.
Roll out, just roll off the side of the ramp.
Because at the Saitama Super Arena, like it's a freaking steep ramp, and it's long. Yeah,
and when I was watching your entrance, I was like, dude, that guy could like easily trip down those steps,
It can happen. I'm surprised I haven't seen anybody fall yet. But then, man, I kind of would have been cool if he did fall, because then maybe we could have got what's that YouTube famous, right? Like, hey, that's Roque Martinez fighting. Yeah, that's the guy who had the cornerman he rolled off there, So, but yeah, man, I like to. I'm just so excited before I'm gonna fight. And
has it always been that way? Oh no, you mentioned
before I used to build myself up to kill, right? But now, I mean, I still in a way I do that. I do that because, I have a guy who's about to take my head off, and I know it's business is about to happen, but at the same time, like, I love what I do, so I enjoy it, man.
Yeah,
it makes me happy. I always tell people one of my favorite parts is just walking out to a fist fight, man. Like there's just, it's like it's like a drug. It's like my type of high.
Yeah. I mean, it's only been about 14, 15 years since you were fighting professionally, right? Just the fact that you're able to keep the fire alive. There's people who live their whole childhood playing a particular sport. By the time they become adults, they're like, fuck, I don't want to do this no more.
Yeah. And
they've spent the last 10, 15 years doing it since they were babies, right? And just the fact that you're able to keep it together as an adult for so long, and then not just yourself, many of the MMA fighters who are on Guam, right, to be able to still keep that high intensity or even that presence, to keep Guam on the existential map of MMA is very commendable for all you guys.
Yeah, man. I mean, just for me, it's like I'm at the point too in my career where a lot of my actually their most recent fights, and also going forward, a lot of these fights make a huge difference in my overall career, even outside of fighting, you know. Like I think that me fighting and building a big name for myself and all that, it'll translate into my after career fighting, or, you know, after fighting career. So it's just really important to me now that I do the right steps in everything I do. And I think that's why before it was just that where I'm just fighting to fight, but now it's like I'm fighting like, man, my future, like a lot of it depends on what I accomplish right now.
For sure.
And I think for me that fighting's still my way to build off another future after I'm done fighting. Like,
what do you
whether
think?
it be, I don't know, whether it be I mean, either running a gym. I mean, there's so many things I have in my head that I want to do, and I haven't quite narrowed it down yet, but that's why I'm saying these fights are real crucial, and how I build myself up to how I can market myself. If I decide to do a business, you know, these small things are going to help. And, you know, also building a future, secure future for my family, my little girl. And so just these fights are important now, you know?
Yeah.
And also, like, definitely my last fight was super important because it was my last fight on my contract with Ryzen. So, you know, I felt like if I put on a dominant show, I put on a good show, I win, then my next contract's going to be, you know, get some good money, right? But
For sure.
you know, I lost the fight. So going into my next contract negotiations, of course, I can't ask for what I was thinking I could. You know, I understand I have a loss now, and it's kind of building my way back up to that point where where I can start getting some more good money again.
Yeah, for sure, man. And like I said, like longevity, right? It's like that's I feel like that's key to now you going into your 40s.
Yeah.
And it's maybe it won't be the money or the price tag that you're expecting, but I mean, just the fact that you're able to stay within an organization,
Yeah.
and then wanting to you come back. I mean, that's huge in itself.
Yeah. I memean, and then of course it's in Japan, so there's opportunities outside of just the fighting. I mean, man, like these guys, for example, like Bob Sapp. You know what Bob Sapp is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Dude, the guy's like a freaking celebrity when he's in Japan, you know? And the guy can't really fight very well, but like he's built that career outside of fighting that you can get paid to just go to like a freaking
like a meet and greet.
Yeah, like a meet and greet, you know, like he'll get paid. So there's opportunities that I see there that I feel like I can still get.
Do you see a growing fan base back there?
Oh yeah, definitely, man. Like of course at the events, just in general, the fans really appreciate fighters. And now I get a lot of messages from the Japanese fans, like, man, when are you coming back to fight? Like they're always asking, like, when are you coming back? I'm like, man, you know, like I want to come back soon. So yeah, it's definitely cool having a pretty good sized fan base out in a whole nother country, you know?
Yeah. And to be able to build it in such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, even though your first fight was back in 2009?
Yeah. So I didn't really build anything then just because it wasn't that, I don't think my name was as big and stuff like that. But now that I'm kind of fighting like higher caliber fighters and my name's bigger, it's a little bit more out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually pretty surprised on my last title defense in DEEP. Like when you watch the video, like how many Japanese were screaming my name, and I
Roque, yeah. Right? They call you Roque.
Yeah. And then there was you can hear like this group of girls like kept yelling my name. Even my fiance's like, these girls like who are these chicks? Like, yeah, I'm like,
who are these little Japanese?
Yeah. She's like, so is this what you're doing when you're coming out to Japan? You know, because I like to go there too, like to either watch a friend's fight, right? Or
For
whatever. Sure. Trust me, I don't know who they are, like, you know, but it's funny, like, you know. And I was actually pretty surprised that last title defense I had, how many fans were there to pretty much see me, you know,
right? And rooting you on.
Yeah, I even have like fans will message me, there are guys they message me like, oh, what hotel are you staying at? Can you come sign, or can I come bring something to sign, you know?
Just to make that clear.
Yeah.
For the record.
Yeah, for the record. So yeah, you know, it's kind of it's cool, man. And actually, even just recently, I actually had a fan from the UK send me some stuff to sign. So that was actually really cool too. Like, and it was he sent it through postal mail, and I just that was something that kind of hit deep with me too. You know, like, well, you got people out in UK who watch what I do.
For sure.
Yeah.
Realizing the expanse of your popularity, like the extents that it can go, right? Much further than you think these days.
Yeah.
I mean, back in the mid 2000s, it was like social media didn't exist.
Yeah.
YouTube was just like barely alive, right? It was still in its infancy. People barely uploading shit.
Yeah.
But now you Google Roque Martinez and a whole bunch of shit will come up, all your previous fights and even the most recent ones.
Yeah, man, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, man, I can't wait for my fan base to reach outside of Guam. Not much non-English speaking people who listen to podcasts and stuff. And
I'll be sure to share this one to the Japanese crowd. Yeah,
that'll be dope.
Yeah.
That'll be dope. And to my future Japanese listeners, konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa. Yeah, the Japanese fans are just so cool. They're so respectful. I think that's the thing that kind of that's really cool to me, is just like they're just so respectful, you know, like they're so kind. Like, man, they'll even like bring me like bags of cookies, like, you know. It's just, and it's cool because they just, I guess, to know that they appreciate what you do and realize, like, man, you're literally putting your life on the line to fight, right? Like,
yeah. Is it as they say, like there's no crowd sort of like the way it is in when you watch UFC, or
like the yelling and
like
stuff,
the yelling and stuff, like everyone's pretty
they're
silent.
a little bit more polite.
Yeah. I went to a sumo tournament.
Oh, wow.
And oh my god, it's one of the best experiences that I've ever been to.
Man.
Yeah,
that's Trump's MMA. Man, sumo. Is it quiet there too?
Yeah, it's real quiet until after the fight. Then it's like burst out into clapping and cheering, and then it's like back to silences.
Yeah, even like when I fought Crow Cop, like we're in the middle of the ring and like 27,000 people, and I can hear nothing. Like I can hear my cornermen super clear when they're talking. That's pretty cool. That wouldn't happen even just PXC, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, even the things you hear in the PXC crowd.
Yeah.
Kick his knee! Knee! Kick his leg!
Dude, that's so funny, man. That's so true, though. The expert cornerman, man. You don't need cornermen when you fight in PXC.
Right.
You got thousands right there.
Right. You got 2,000 cornermen.
Yeah. So funny.
Oh,
funny,
man.
but true.
Yeah, man, I think it's cool. I mean, I really try to encourage a lot of different people. Not encourage, because people are already doing it. I more commend them when they start attacking the Asian market, because it's an untapped market for us, and it's so available to us.
Yeah.
Extremely available. I mean, just the fact that you have fans who look up to you in that part of the world is, like I said, it was unheard of 10 years ago. And just the fact that you can actually like interact with them and give them your location to be able to sign shit, mind blowing.
Yeah, that's why I said, like, I think for me it goes outside of fighting as a potential career paths I can take, you know. Yeah. Developing a relationship with, especially somewhere so close too, you know, especially with all the tourists that come and stuff. So, yeah, that's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. What are your actual plans though to, you know, maybe after the fight is done? After fighting's done? Yeah. Do you have anything in mind, like immediately? I mean, yeah, sure. So you said you want to start at a gym, but I mean, yeah, I mean that's something I would consider doing. There's a lot of other things, man. I've also and actually as of recently, I've also thought of tapping into like somewhat of like motivational speaking to like even more so than just a career, but like I actually want to get more involved with talking to students at schools here. The youth. I've done it a few times, and it kind of hit deep with me. The last time I went was at Teason High, and I was just kind of talking, you know, I was just talking, and then I kind of could see that some kids were
starting to like, they were like drawn into what I was saying, and for me to know that they were listening and might have taken something from what I said, and if they can apply it, and even if it's just one person, right? Like, that's one person that you helped out, and that's something I would be interested in as well. You know,
maybe a podcast.
A podcast, yeah. You never know, man. Like,
I feel like it's the perfect platform for, to really get people to listen.
Yeah.
Listen to either yourself or someone that you have on a show. And the engagement is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Right? And when you are able to engage with people who listen to your show and stuff like that, I don't think it's a bad idea.
Yeah.
I mean, you coming from the time when MMA was extremely raw and grimy and dirty and stuff like that, to where now it's like technique and culture and understanding. Like, there were not that it was uncultured, but it's the culture has evolved for MMA on Guam, and sort of give kids an insight like, hey, it was harder back then for us to do what we're doing now.
Yeah.
And just the fact that you're able to do such a thing now today without worrying, or if you're able to do it or get exposure, then why not do it?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And even on top of that, it's like, I feel like there's things also outside of fighting that I've been through, like, that I can also relate to with a lot of kids as well. Like, man, I wasn't the best kid growing up either, man. I've had my fair share of problems, and there's a lot of things I've been through that I feel like can relate to a lot of the kids now. And honestly, like, I always think back, and if it wasn't for my mom moving me off island when I was young, I don't know where I would have been now.
Were you a naughty kid? The reason why you moved off?
No.
Oh, okay. I have a couple friends who were the naughty kid that had to move off.
Well,
off
like,
island.
I think I could have stayed back with my grandparents, but my mom really wanted me to go out there with her, because she joined the military and she was in basic training, and then she actually had a medical discharge through with basic training. She broke her femur bone, so she wanted to relocate to Washington State, and she had me go out, man. And to me, that was like the best thing that could have happened for me. Like, it just totally changed my path of where I was going, especially here. And then on top of that, like, then I was doing good out there, and then I got into some stuff out there, some bad, got with bad crowds, and just these little things that I kind of took note of that changed my path to where I'm at now. I feel like if people can see that, these younger kids can realize, like, someone like what they're going through, then you can still do something to change that, or without maybe them having their parents move them, or whatever. If I can just explain just that little bit to maybe help guide them to a better path, then actually that's something that I like, man. I'd like to do.
Yeah, I'm sure you can inspire a lot of kids to let them know that whatever you're going through isn't the mean all end all, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Be all end all. Is that how you say it?
Yeah,
I think that's how you say it.
Yeah, man. I mean, to me, I think it's true, man. You can do whatever you want to do. Like people say, it's just what are you willing to do to be what you want to be?
How much work are you willing to put in? I mean, you can not have a job and then do it all the way, but for most people's situations, you have to have a 9 to 5 to support your 5 to 8, right?
Yeah, so that's like me. Like I tell people, and recently to me, I'm my biggest sponsor. Like I work a 9 to 5. Actually, I get to work like 7:30 to 7:45 in the morning. I'm one of the first few into my office, and man, I work a full-time job to support what I'm doing, like, and also trying to take care of my family, and so I'm I kind of have 2 incomes, but people tell me, oh, why don't you just go full-time fighting, but I feel like I'm and only it's within the last couple of years that I feel like I'm a hard enough worker to be able to maintain both. Like I keep up I feel like I still out-train a lot of people even with the full-time job, and vice versa. Like I feel like I can outwork people in the office with the full-time training schedule.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. And you know, it's really my mentality that's changed within just the last couple of years. I was nowhere near the level I'm at now. Like, and I can admit, like, just a few years ago at my work, I work at Calvo's Insurance, man. I was probably not the best employee, you know, and I can admit that. But right now, man, I feel like I'm just like at a whole nother level in terms of how hard I'm willing to work and my quality of work as well. And I think it came down to me realizing it for myself and just knowing that I can push to just make myself a better worker, and that on top of training. Like, I'm all about that hard work, man, and I got motivation from all this stuff, listening to successful people.
For sure.
And which is kind of why it goes back to like me thinking about, I kind of want to talk to people because that's how I feel like that's how I'm where I'm at now. It's like I've seen these successful people, and they'll tell you, man, there's no such thing as working too hard. I don't believe in working too hard, like, you know, and I think I'm a perfect example of it. Wake up at 4, I'm at work by 7:30 to 7:45. You know, I get off at 5 now, so, and I'm training in between there, so it's just, I don't think you can outwork yourself or overtrain. Like, that's just a limit people are putting on themselves, you know.
Right.
And I hope that somewhere down the line I can show for it, like, you know, as far as a successful career after fighting, like I have something to show for it, and I feel like all my hard work's gonna pay off, and you know what I mean, like,
For
and
sure.
then definitely be even a better example.
What would be your definition of success, whether it's in your fight career or just in general?
It wouldn't necessarily be the income, but of course, right, if I can show people that you can make decent income or whatever, doing what you want to do, but also just, to me, like, being successful is doing what you want to do while supporting your family, or, you know, and there's just so many things that you can say you do that can you know, make you feel successful. Like,
Yeah.
it's just, and I seriously don't know exactly what it is where I'm going to be years from now, but I feel like this hard work that I'm putting in now is going to pay off for something down the line. I don't know exactly what, but it's gonna be. I want to be successful, most especially for my family, right? Like, that's the main goal.
Yeah, for some people it would be a Porsche. Like, oh,
Yeah,
there's my success right there. That Porsche right there is like, that's it.
Yeah.
Right? And I sort of like agree with you in that respect of what the success is like, not necessarily the income, but what everything around me has sort of like working harmoniously together.
Yeah.
If I can walk through life and everything's like sun shining perfectly, right? And it's like I'm walking in the shade perfectly, and there's nothing hitting me. I don't know. I mean,
so that, like, actually for me, like, now that you bring that up, one of the things that I know will make me happy down the line when I'm successful is I want to have you know, I have a home here now, but I want to have for me, like a condo in I love Seattle.
Okay.
You know, of course I lived there for a while, but I want to have a condo in downtown Seattle as well, you know. And I think,
you're a huge Seahawks fan, aren't you?
Yeah. That was my first job, was actually working at the Seahawks stadium.
Really?
Yeah.
What'd you do there?
Field security or event security. Yeah.
Okay. So
I got to watch the games and just make sure people don't fight.
from the grounds, huh?
Well, that's a little bit of a couple levels.
Okay.
Yeah.
But still, you got to watch the fights. I mean, watch
watch the games while just making sure people don't fight. Yeah, Seattle's like a second home to me. Like I said, man, if I can just get to that point where, you know, I have a place there, a place here, and just doing what I love, you know.
Yeah.
Then
would that mean moving to a different organization with the state in the States to put you in that position, or is that something you're not really focused on?
Yeah, something I'm not really focused on. I think maybe that'll be down the line, maybe possibly after fighting. But like at the same time, you never know, right? Like, I can have 2 really good next fights, and then bang, here comes a big contract. You know, like, okay, now we're making big money or whatever. Or it could be vice versa. Like, I lose, you know, a fight, and then or 2, and then now I really have to consider, okay, when is it time to hang it up and take another route? So I don't know exactly, but I just know that right now I'm working as hard as I can to just increase that percentage to get successful. Like, success is never guaranteed either.
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm working as hard as I can now, but it's not guaranteed that I'm going to be successful, but I'm increasing the percentage that I will be successful.
I love that. I love that train of thought, man. I mean, just the fact that, like you said, what I'm doing now is an indeterminate future, but when you get to that future, whether you're successful or not, you know, you can look back and be like, fuck, I worked my absolute hardest.
Yeah.
And unfortunately it didn't turn out, but I know what I did.
Yeah.
And what I need to do maybe to turn the tide, right?
Yeah.
People think when we miss out on our first success, it's like, oh, that's it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna move. I'm not gonna keep doing it. It's not worth it no more.
That's how I actually was, man. I thought if I lost these last few fights, I was like, man, then I need to reconsider, like, was it for me? But I haven't given up yet. Like, I feel like now I feel mentally again, it made me stronger to maybe push up another level again.
Right.
You know?
Is there anything you would change between your last fight and this whatever upcoming fight that you have? What will you change and how would you change it?
I think that one,
not to give away any trade secrets or anything like that, but
no, like I said, that whole mentality going in with that one dimensional mindset that I was just gonna keep it standing with the guy, right? Like,
yeah.
So now I know, hey, if I break my left hand on my next fight, maybe I'll go for the takedown, or now I know how to use my other hand more.
Yeah.
You know, so like, I felt like I definitely learned from the last one.
Yeah, I was talking to Frank about he had 2 losses, and then going into this next, I spoke to him right before his fight versus really beat. Oh my
Nick Hine, his last one.
Right. And you know, and we were talking about longevity. We were talking about kind of, you know, now that he's gonna hit his 30s, like how do you keep a career going without like damaging your brain or damaging your body because you're brawling. And his last few fights was like for the fans, right? It's right, bring out that Chamorro warrior spirit, fucking brawl it out,
get the
see
fight
what
bonus.
happens, right? Get the bonus and stuff like that. But now you have to start thinking, and there's so many facets to his game, right? He has the jiu-jitsu, he has the wrestling and stuff that he hasn't even broke out.
Yeah.
And he still didn't break it out in this last fight. All he added was a kick, and it made the world of a difference, right?
Oh,
and it's like,
man.
So even just those small changes to your fight game can even just make a world of a difference.
Yeah, and I think for me,
not just mental too. Yeah.
This last one, so it kind of forced me to work on my elbows, which I when I got into MMA, I actually learned some pretty good elbows from a really good coach, Matt Hume, and I went away from it. I never used it in my fights, but after I broke my hand, I was forced to do it. Oh my gosh, why didn't I do this before? So, you know, I think that's something that I could use in my next fight for sure.
I'm gonna focus on that next time I watch the last fight. I want to see that. I want to see like where, if it's noticeable, because I didn't even notice it.
Yeah. A lot of people didn't notice it. But I hit the guy on the top of his head at the time. The time was off, like 4:45 left in the first round.
Okay.
And from there, you can kind of see I don't let my right hand go as I normally would. But I still threw it a few times. Like I was trying to throw it like different angles.
Literally 15 seconds into the fight.
Yeah. I knew it right away, and that's what just made it so frustrating. Was like once it broke, and I was like, oh, because I've actually broke this hand before in a fight.
Okay.
So I kind of had an idea already. Like I was like, man, you got to be kidding me. And like, that's what made it real frustrating, is not being able to use. For me, it's like I think it's my main weapon, my right hand. You know, just not being able to use it the way you want to. It's frustrating.
Yeah, and just the fact that, you know, you come in as a shorter guy, people automatically assume like, this guy's shorter than me, easy. But you take them completely off guard, right? And bring the fight to them, and I felt like you could have won this fight, and I didn't even realize, you know, until after. I think you posted it. You're like, you know, you kind of wrote the message, and it showed you with the ice on your hand and stuff like that.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't realize.
Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah, that's why a lot of my family was watching. Like, oh, that's why you weren't like, you know, throwing my uppercuts, my like punches I really like to throw. I wasn't throwing them. So,
how much of your arsenal haven't you tapped into since you started fighting in Deep and Rising?
I still feel like I'm learning so many more techniques. and also refreshing ones that I learned early on, and kind of bringing them back again, you know.
Yeah. Do you have a pretty solid at least team to sort of keep all the elements together? Because you're the fighter, right? But it's sort of everyone around you that could either accentuate some sort of skill that you have. Is that even a word? You should Google that word.
I think so.
Here I am using words again that I don't even know. You know, are kind of, God, what is that fucking word? Kind of make certain skills stand out. You know, is there anything that you're like looking to change? I know there's a bunch of fighters that, you know, they were training here on Guam, and then, you know, maybe they decided, fuck, I need to go, you know, find a camp in the States to sort of change things up for me.
Yeah.
Is that something that you sort of look at making adjustments, or any reason why there would be adjustments in that facet? Like maybe going to train in Japan for 2 months?
Yeah. As for me, like, I kind of...
Not to put anything, I don't want you to put anything like bad down on your team. You know? No. Your team's solid. But.
Yeah. Oh, no, well, that's another thing is, like, I've done fight camps before off island, like with pretty high caliber guys.
Okay.
But as for now, man, I'm totally comfortable and confident in the guys I have around me. And on top of me, I don't want to leave island because, man, I have a family to take care of. We have our schedule. I don't want to throw off my family schedule just to, like, I understand you got to sacrifice at some point, but, you know, like, my other half already supports me a lot, and for me to put that extra stress on her, like, I don't want to do it. And on top of that, like I said, I'm comfortable and confident with the team I have now. I think it just comes down to more on the fighter, like what, like, are the things you want to work on, and how hard are you really pushing yourself in training? For sure.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah. No, so it's just, I as for right now, like, I'm totally like happy with staying home on Guam, going through fight camps, and it makes me happy coming home like on a hard day's work and training to just come home to my family. It makes me happy, you know. I don't want to be off island in training camp and I'm just frustrated or whatnot. And on top of me, another reason why I wouldn't head out is just, you know, because I have a full-time job and I'm not willing to give it up just to go train off island when I feel like I'm comfortable with the guys I have here, you know.
For sure.
Yeah, I think I would consider though, like, maybe, you know, when the funds are really good, then just, you know, flying in partners every now and then, just mostly for the size.
Yeah.
And, you know, if they're pretty good,
you're gonna have to start pulling some Navy and Air Force dudes off the street, like, you look big enough, bro. Can you come fight me for a couple weeks?
Yeah. So that, like, that's my biggest struggle is just the size of the guys that I train with.
Right.
But another thing that with training with the lighter guys is, like, forces me to be pretty quick, you know, which I think it shows in a lot of my fights that you know, I'm pretty quick for my size, you know.
Yeah, man. I mean, your head movement is incredible, and the fact that you can still keep it up after so long.
Yeah.
Right, without, like, especially the Mirko fight, you all the way down to the last, what, it was almost 4 minutes left when they stopped it.
Yeah.
But you were moving faster than him, and
I just felt like I was just warming up.
Right. So I mean,
I put a heavy emphasis on my conditioning. I think that's my number one priority.
Yeah.
Just because at worst case scenario, like, going into a fight, I feel like I can take a lot from somebody and keep going forward, and I know that they won't be able to keep up with my conditioning, and worst case, that's what will win me a fight if the person is better than me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, I'll always have that to fall back on, and that's definitely my number one priority, like, my conditioning.
Right. Are you, when you're preparing for a fight, are you looking to how the other person fights, or are you trying to convince them to fight your game? I mean, maybe not the last fight, because he convinced you to stand up the whole fight. But
I know what you're trying to say. Like, I want to do what I do in a fight. Like, I want to impose my game, and I don't go into fights with game plans. I train for everything, and when the fight starts, I want to do what I like to do, you know. But yeah, I'd rather fight my type of fight than try and wait and see what the guy does.
Right. Like counter punch him or
counter. Yeah. Just want to do what I want to do. And
that can put you in a very dangerous situation. Yeah. I mean, if you're constantly waiting for him to attack, or waiting for him to make a move, it almost doesn't set you up strategically on how you need to make adjustments. Yeah,
definitely.
And you're very good at walking them down, right?
Yeah.
Constantly advancing into the fight rather than putting your back against the ropes.
I feel like that it drains the opponent. You know, like just me moving forward on them, it just wears them out. Like this last fight, I felt like the guy was definitely wearing out by the second round, and for sure, if this was like more rounds than 3, I don't think he would have kept up. You know, even with the broken hand.
And more hands than one, right?
Yeah. So he just, I just feel like that's the key to my success is my conditioning,
right?
Especially in the heavyweight division.
Yeah, man.
Where they tend to gas out pretty fast.
right. Yeah. After it's like, fuck this. This is second round. Damn.
DC's another example of that again, man. That guy's a workhorse when it comes to training. Cain Velasquez, those guys are they're workhorses, you know?
Yeah.
They train so hard and they're known for the conditioning.
Right. And to manage that, are you managing your output volume as to how many punches you're trying to put, how many punches you're trying to strike, or how many strikes you're trying to make.
Yeah.
Sorry. Fuck.
Yeah, for me, I want to keep, that's another thing is I like to keep my volume high.
Yeah.
Perfect example of that is like Max Holloway, man. I really like his style. He's a high volume striker.
Yeah, the last main event fight, Colby Covington, man.
Yeah. 500, another example,
500 attempts.
Yeah. See, so I mean, you do that, like chances are you're well on your way to a win anyways, like if you're outputting more than your opponent.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely for me, volume's a key, which of course is determined by your conditioning, you know.
Right.
I think I have that perfect style to where I can throw a high volume, but also I can take I have enough defense, and I'm tough enough to take whatever they throw at me while keeping up that volume to wear them down.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you put yourself to any particular diet to keep that strength and conditioning up?
Well, like when I get closer to my fights, I try and clean up my eating.
Yeah.
I definitely love to eat, so but yeah, when I'm in fight camp, I try and eat a little bit cleaner.
Right.
And
but not too much of a change, because you don't want. Is it much of a change? First is my first question, and if not, is it because you don't want your energy to be depleted because your body's so used to consuming these kinds of foods? Or
yeah, no, I know what you mean. Like yeah, I think I kind of have that balance where I eat still pretty good in fight camp. I do try and cut out like the junk foods and all that fast foods. And another big thing is like I definitely cut down on my alcohol consumption when I'm getting close to a fight. But other than that, man, it's nothing too crazy when it comes to the diet. Like I just eat what I feel like I'm comfortable with, like going into training or before training. Like I don't want to eat too heavy or stuff like that. So, and on top of that, I don't have to worry about the weight part either, you know.
Right,
they usually come under the 265 limit, except for Crow Cop fight. They made it like a weird catch weight. It was like, I think it was like 240 or something you had to come under, but that was no problem. Like
that didn't affect you like too much.
No, not at all. I just cut the water weight like the day of the weigh-in. And
yeah, especially when people are cutting that many pounds, right? I mean, it could affect you physically as far as like getting into the fight the night of.
Yeah, definitely, man. I don't see how these guys do like crazy weight cuts, like, and I know some people handle it different than others. Yeah, I see some guys are good at it and some guys struggle with it.
I think Darren Till puts himself to like near death to get himself down to 155 or 170. Right.
Yeah, it's, you know, I don't see how a lot of those guys do it, but I guess they do it.
Yeah. If you weren't fighting, what do you think you'd be doing as far as
I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. Like, I've been doing it
Something
for so
you've
long.
never thought about.
Yeah. I grew up always wanting to be a pro football player.
Okay.
That was my first love was football, and that's what I always wanted to be growing up, an NFL player, but didn't quite make that.
We like to say that, you know, when we play sports as kids here, even as teens in high school, you know, right there, high school is the end of the line. But because you went to school out in the States, was the exposure or even the odds for you higher? Do you think it's higher, or
to get to
the next level, maybe like college ball or Division 1 or Division 2?
Compared to like Guam,
compared to like being here,
I definitely think my chances were a lot higher. I was pretty decent at football in high school. I've had some interest from a few local colleges to play, especially a lot of times we did our summer camps up in at one of the universities, and got a few coaches' eyes on me. But I kind of just didn't hold up my end on the academics part, you know. Going into my last year, I wasn't eligible to play for the first maybe 4 games, just because of my grades. And that was definitely my downfall to football. And I just didn't have the work ethic I do now. But you know, I was pretty decent at it, and I wish I took it more serious.
Yeah.
When it really mattered, I really got noticed because in high school when I was there, it was sophomore through senior year. Freshmen were still in junior high.
Okay.
So as a sophomore, I was actually one of the one of like 2 or 3 starting sophomores on the varsity team.
Okay.
And then I had gotten injured, but the thing was about that is like I actually worked hard to get that position. Then I got injured and lost my position. I came back, and then, you know, I played varsity again, but I lost that work ethic into my junior year and my senior year. I guess I got into hanging out with friends in the wrong crowd.
Right.
And then I didn't focus on it like I should have, and I wish I did, because I wish I got to at least play college football. That's something I wanted to do.
Yeah, man. We're not so far in age. I think we're a year apart, and for us here, it was like play sports, and that's about it. You know, and rugby was introduced my senior year, and we were introduced to rugby the year before, and it was like, well, there's nothing really after this. You know, let's go get stoned and drunk.
Yeah.
You know?
yeah, it's a whole different ball game out there, man.
But even here, right? How much has evolved? You got a lot more players playing Division 2 football.
Yeah.
Division 1 rugby, right? And even making it out in maybe the fight world, right?
Yeah, that's something too. Like, I've always thought about tapping into is like the interscholastic sports here on Guam, just because I've seen like the type like of programs they have out there, right? Like, and you see these kids succeed, like something I mean, that could be another thing too, right? Like, just to develop the sports on Guam.
Right. Maybe
it all starts at that young age, really. It's like you see these good wrestlers in the States, they've been wrestling since they were 7 years old, man. So I think it starts with those lower programs building off into the other ones, and everyone has to kind of work together,
sort of farming each other. The fact that IAAG split from the rest of everyone else, right? It's like it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, how does that help? How does that help the youth?
Yeah.
Right. How does that help athletes who wanna succeed?
Yeah.
Right. And you want everyone to play sports, but I mean, their reasoning was, we want even people who can't make the grade to play sports, right? And it's like, that's kind of challenging there too. Like,
and that's
because that doesn't necessarily mean college bound either, right? Or even like pro sports bound. It's you're kind of putting them in a bad situation if they can't focus on academics and sports, and what more like going somewhere else to pursue it when that's even man. For me, you have to maintain, you know, that certain GPA to even be eligible just to play
or even practice for that matter.
Right.
So, yeah, I just think but I definitely see like with the whole, more students here going off to play college in the States. Like, it's definitely good, man. It's good to see that, just hope we can just keep going that way. And
yeah. And I'm sure there was more, there's people who were able to do it. Maybe it's more out there and more exposed now because social media and stuff like that. But
yeah,
just the fact that it feels like it's doubled in size of the amount of students leaving every year. Like, signing day this, signing day that. I'm gonna go play basketball here. I'm gonna go play volleyball here. I'm gonna go play football here. I'm gonna go play rugby here. It's like, whoa, badass.
Yeah, that's super cool to see. That kind of reminded me, like, when I was out there and you see like these prospects from the state, like the top prospects, and you're like, oh, you get to see them, they all sign where they're going to go play college football or whatever, maybe. And just cool because it builds that anticipation, and it gives the younger people like something to look forward to as well. Like, kind of, well, I want to do that too when I get to high school.
Right.
So,
Right.
Yeah.
Matt, how long have we been going here, man?
Hour 47.
What's your average time?
Just about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're onto this thing that mentally I feel like my brain knows how long we've been talking, because the last 3 podcasts it's been between an hour 40 and an hour 50 minutes, because we try to hit the hour, right?
Yeah.
And when we hit the hour, we're way over the hour.
Yeah.
That means it's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're on this thing. Hour 47. It's been awesome, dude. I mean, it's I feel like you still have a long way to go, even though earlier I said you're over the hump, which is an accident.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to make it sound like the way it sounded.
Oh, yeah.
After I said it, I was like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
But I feel like you do have, you still have a lot of fight left in you, and just from watching your fights, and it's exciting to see any Guam fighter go and represent the island and be able to even represent themselves. And I'm all for fighters representing themselves more than representing Guam.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it almost becomes a burden for a lot of athletes, to fight and put Guam on their shoulders. And then when they lose, they're like, oh, I feel like I let a whole island down. And that's not necessarily the case, right? And it can like bog a lot of athletes, down. And Joe Gogo was an example of that. He said, man, I fought with Guam on my heart and on my sleeve, and it felt like every time I was, when I was going through like a losing spout, I felt like I was letting everyone down.
Yeah.
And so he had to like really step back and reanalyze what he's doing and start fighting for himself first. And he realized that everything else will come following.
Yeah.
Win or lose.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, I definitely understand that too. But yeah, man.
Do you feel that sort of pressure though when you're going out there, especially in a foreign country?
Yeah, I would say so. But the thing that really I enjoy from carrying the Guam flag and representing Guam is just knowing like that the whole island has your back. Just gives you that special feeling. Yeah, I love it, man. Like I love carrying the flag down the ramp.
But there's no real pressure of like
the pressure's there for sure. It's hard to say it's not. And yeah, when I lose, I feel like, oh man, I wish I won. So like, especially against the Crow Cop, man. Like that was the one where I was like, they're gonna say, who's this Guam guy that just beat Crow Cop,
Right.
And but
But you saw it on everyone's face at the end of that fight. It was like, it's over? For real? I think even the commentators were like, wait, I think it's over. Are you serious?
Yeah, man. So yeah, I was a little disappointed and frustrated with that, but still, regardless, I'm always proud to be from Guam, proud to be Chamorro and represent our people. Which I think is fighting is one of the best ways to represent like our warrior spirit. Like we're tough people from this island,
Yeah.
Been through a lot on, just all the way back from when all the countries that tried to come and take over. We've been through a lot as an island.
Mm-hmm.
We're fighters, and it's cool to represent it on a stage like fighting.
Right. And to be able to get paid doing it.
Yeah.
Right. For it to actually not only be a lifestyle, but also a potential like long-term career.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Roque.
Thank you.
Woo. It was awesome. That was an awesome conversation. I hope we can do it again. I hope you had a good time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
As my thank you for coming on the show and, sharing your story and also, sharing everything that I feel like I asked you a million questions.
No, man. I enjoyed it, man. It's cool to like just express myself too. There's a lot of things like I want to let people know, like, and with you asking these questions can just help spread that, what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking.
For sure, man.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
appreciate the platform.
Yeah. Anytime you want to come on, let me know if I don't hit you up first. And if you ever want to do your own podcast, if you start delving into that, let me know. I'll give you some tips and on how to get that started. Anything you like to put out there, this is sort of my thank you for coming on the show. Whatever you like, whatever you want to promote, whether it be your sponsors or whatever things you got coming up, fights, the floor is yours. How can people follow you?
Yeah. You guys can just follow me on I don't know exactly what my Facebook address is, but if you search Roque Martinez, I think it's one of the first ones that pop up.
There's only one.
Yeah. On Instagram, Roque_Martinez86. That's a good one to follow me on. I like to post a lot of my day-to-day stuff, like everything from waking up, training, to what I'm eating. Some days more than others, but it's a good way to keep track of what I'm doing. And I just thank everyone for the support. I always say I won't be where I'm at now without the support. And just another thing, spread those positive vibes. I've been big on it lately. I got big into it, like really spreading those positive type things like just a couple years ago. And I'm kind of back on it now because it's just lately I've really been feeling that positive energy I've been putting out's coming back. Just a real quick story.
Go ahead.
I'll just tell you.
Yeah, take your time. Yeah, go for it.
When I was just telling you when I got in here, right before I met up with you here, I was just driving down the street and this lady that I don't know her at all. I shared her post on Facebook that she had a missing dog all the way in Tuning, like it's kind of by my house.
Okay.
And I freaking some random, like I stopped at the 76, got a drink and stuff, and I randomly noticed the dog. I was like, dang, that looks like the dog. And man, sure enough, it turned out to be her dog. So here I am thinking, what are the odds the dog's down here all the way from Tuning? I'm over here. And then to top it off, like I'm like looking for the Facebook post. I'm like, oh yeah, trying to find her name. Like the dog's here, and anyways, I finally messaged her on Facebook. I was like, oh, call me if you can, please. So she called me on the Facebook Messenger. And then luckily she was actually just at Mosa's. Like she's close, which is good because the dog was starting to walk away. And I was like, how if she comes here, like how's she going to find it if it goes away? And luckily she was close. And man, I was just able to and the dog's been missing for 3 weeks. So when I saw her and the dog, when they met up and they're both bawling out, the dog's crying, she's crying. And I only understand it because I'm a dog lover myself. And man, when I saw that, I was like, holy, like I was meant to be here right now. And I just did something positive I went out of my way to try and stop the dog and whatever, right? And
just the fact that you recognize the dog, what I mean?
Every little thing about that story just kind of trips me out. Like, and then I think back, I'm like, I've been so big on this whole positive thing, and I think it's just stuff coming back at me, and like that whole laws of attraction thing, right?
Yeah,
putting out and coming back, like that universe is reacting, and definitely for sure, like that was a sign. And another thing, like I'm named after a saint, right? And when my mom searched it up as the patron saint of dogs, so it's just weird. It's like super weird. And you
might be a dog whisperer, man.
Maybe. But yeah, man, I'm just like,
yeah, that's an awesome story.
Yeah. So it's just, it all goes back to like that positivity, and just, man, I think just with everything crazy going on, like just, man, just love one another, smile at people, be happy, spread positive vibes, and like things are just good when everything's positive, and that's just, I think, just because I've been so big on it lately, I just kind of wanted to share that now, and it's just, make Guam like just a really good place again. Like just with all the crazy stuff going on.
I agree, man. And sometimes the news doesn't bring out the best parts of
it's sad to watch the news now,
right? And but there are good things going on, and it doesn't necessarily have to be on Facebook or like or Twitter or Instagram, but I mean it's all encompassing. I'm a big proponent of like energy transfer. Like
for sure.
I mean, you feel the energy, and I feel like there's a reason why we've talked for so long, right? I mean, we've probably shared a few words in the past, right? And it's but for us to sit down and for a couple hours and talk story, there's some sort of transference of energy between us, and same thing with you and the dog, and then you and the lady, and it's not coincidence, man.
It's not, dude, for sure. It's not. Like, and it just really dawned on me, like, on the way here, it's like, fuck, dude, like, what were the chances?
The chances that you recognize the dog. That's what I'm trying to get is like, how do you even like, I barely even recognize. The only dog I can probably recognize is my own dog. But if I saw Matt's dog, I would be like, he's like, dude, my dog's missing. I'm like, all right, I'll see if I remember what your dog looks like.
Everything from like, dude, just me even finding the post, getting a hold for her to even just somehow see my message.
Wait, you didn't know the lady?
I didn't know the lady at all. So it's even more trippy. And the fact that she was just down the street, like it's dude.
She could have been in Jigo, right?
What are the chances of walking at that time? I was there to come. Dude, I'm still tripping out. Like, and it just it's another reminder for me, like, dude, there's reasons for everything. And I think that for me being there was just a result of my positive attitude lately. Yeah. And man, I wanted to share that because I've been posting about it a lot lately. And I think this story like will kind of show you that, dude, it's not just something I'm saying, right? Like it's coming back full circle.
For sure.
Yeah, she's like, oh, I got a reward, this and that, and like, no, just keep it, Yeah. Even the other guy that was there, he was kind of helping out too. He's like, no, just take that money, go feed the dog, and just cool, man.
Yeah. Badass, dude. Anything else you wanna share?
No, that's it. Really appreciate you having me.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, dude. The pleasure's all mine and the honor's all mine. Yeah, for sure.
Do it again.
Anytime you like. And in my heart and in my mind, you're always the champ, man.
Yeah,
always.
Right, thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Appreciate it.
Whether you got the belt or not, you're always the champ.
Well, I still got the DEEP title.
You got the DEEP title. That's right. That's right.
Still hanging on to that one.
Anything coming up with DEEP?
No, they might have me defend my title in December.
Okay.
I actually wanted to defend it. I was kind of jumping the gun after the injury. I wanted to defend it in September, but I think they're having a title eliminator in September. Then I'll defend it in December.
Okay.
If I don't fight Ryzen around that time.
Right.
Right now they're kind of deep as saying if Ryzen wants me to fight, then that's kind of like the priority, and DEEP title defenses will kind of just be like my way to keep active. Like I want to be an active fighter, so they understand that. And
for sure, and that's the only way to progress up the ladder, right? Is to keep on fighting full time year round.
Yeah.
But Roque, thank you, thank you, brother. I appreciate it
again.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the podcast, everybody. Matty B, how you feeling?
Better than ever.
Yeah, we hit the 145 asking question mark again. Third podcast in a row, and I feel like we're going for 10. 10 consecutive times. Don't forget to listen to the end roll, because that's where everything's at. And if you want more information, it's in the end roll. So stick around, and thank you for sticking around for this conversation with Roque Martinez, the champ. And Maddie, how much you love them. Maddie loves you. I love you. And until next time, everyone, peace out. Hey guys, thanks so much for listening to this episode of the podcast with Roque Martinez, episode 198. Almost there to 200. Feels great. Shout out to the sponsor, Addis Mortuary. They're a small family-owned and operated mortuary that has been serving this island community for over 45 years. Addis Mortuary. They are big enough to serve, yet small enough to care. Don't forget to rate and review the podcast if you're listening to this on the Apple Podcast app and wherever available to leave reviews and ratings. Please feel free to do so. Don't forget to support us on Patreon. What else is there? I'll see you at 200, 198. Shoot, thank you for being super awesome.